पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ रुपए का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस केवल 450 रुपए महीने से शुरू। वाव!
Good evening and welcome to Breaking Views. I am Ankit Tyagi. Ladies and gentlemen, the political discourse in India has gone to dogs, literally. This is exactly what people, parliamentarians, have been talking about. And literally, the word like dogs and mouse are at the center of a political storm in the country's parliament. Rajya Sabha today witnessed a ruckus, yet again, with members of the opposition demanding a discussion on the Chinese incursion and Taiwan, the clashes between India and China, while the treasury benches demanding an apology from Congress leader of opposition and president of Congress party Mallikarjun Kharge for his dog and mouse remarks. While the angry treasury benches led by Minister Piyush Goyal demanded an apology from the leader of opposition, Mr. Kharge, a combative Congress president refused and asked remarks made outside the House to be left out of discussion on the floor of the Parliament. I very quickly, just to give you some context of what exactly happened in Parliament, with the ruckus and of course all the hangama, I just want to play out what Mr. Piyush Goyal, very angry Mr. Piyush Goyal, and his exchange with Mallikarjun Kharge.
जिस प्रकार से खरगे जी ने अभद्र भाषा का प्रयोग किया, जिस प्रकार से खरगे जी ने पूरी तरीके से बेबुनियाद बातें रखी, असत्य को देश के सामने रखने की कोशिश की, मैं उसकी घोर निंदा करता हूं और उनसे माफी की मांग करता हूं। उन्होंने माफी मांगनी चाहिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी से, माफी मांगनी चाहिए सदन से, जिसके अधिकांश मेंबर भारतीय जनता पार्टी के, उन्होंने माफी मांगनी चाहिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी से और उन्होंने माफी मांगनी चाहिए इस देश की जनता से।
जो मैं मेरी बातें कही वो पॉलिटिकली आउटसाइड द हाउस, नॉट इन द हाउस, यहाँ पर डिस्कस करने की आवश्यकता नहीं। और दूसरी चीज मैं अभी भी कह सकता हूं, आजादी के वक्त फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में उन लोगों को कोई रोल नहीं था।
Now, while the Congress president says that whatever he said should be left outside the parliament, but what is it that he said in Rajasthan's Alwar that has enraged the treasury benches so much? Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge in Rajasthan, while he was part of the Bharat Jodo Yatra in Alwar, this is the remark that he had made, which the BJP says. The BJP says that it is been made against the Prime Minister. It is targeting the Prime Minister. Let's just listen in first to what the Congress President had said in Alwar.
हमने अपनी जान दी, हमारे पार्टी के नेताओं ने जान दिया। तुम क्या किए? आपके घर में कोई देश के लिए कुत्ता तो मरा है? क्या कोई तो कुर्बानी दी है? नहीं, लेकिन फिर भी वो देशभक्त, और हम कुछ भी बोलेंगे तो देशद्रोही।
But there is a larger issue, ladies and gentlemen, that I want to raise this evening. Why is it that with such remarks, and specifically few words taken out as far as these remarks are concerned, the real issues get lost completely, are lost in the noise? Just take, for example, in this session of the parliament, there hasn't been any discussion on the Chinese aggression. There hasn't been any discussion on the state of the economy. There hasn't been any discussion on price rise, on unemployment. No discussion on fee hike in universities. No discussion on the Bihar hooch deaths that have taken place. More than 70 people have died there. But no noise, no discussion, no, in fact, debate on that. And that leads me to certain important questions that I want to raise this evening. Politics of personal barbs over substantive issues. Is that the new shift in the politics and the political discourse that we are seeing? Are real issues getting lost in the din of the noise? Opposition tossing easy volleys to the government with these loose statements. It also gives the government an opportunity, in fact, to run away from substantive issues. We'll talk about this, but let me very quickly at this moment introduce my panel this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me at this moment, in fact, Supriya Sineth of the Congress Party will be joining us in just a short while from now. We'll also have from the Bharatiya Janata Party, Mr. Pathania. He's joining us at this moment. We have Sabha Naqvi, senior journalist, with us this evening. We also have Ms. Geeta Bhatt, political analyst leaning towards the BJP at this moment as well. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. I want to start by asking you, Mr. Pathania, the apology which the government, in fact, is seeking right now, and Mr. Piyush Goyal was very, very upset about the word dog being used, insinuating that it has been used against the Prime Minister. If I remember it correctly, this is not the first time a word like dog has been used in Indian political discourse. It was Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2013 who had, in fact, used the word a pup, in fact, not exactly a dog, but a pup in one of the statements. I don't want to, in fact, go into details of that. The fact is, sir, this wasn't used against the Prime Minister. It wasn't used on the floor of the Parliament. Why is it that the Bharatiya Janata Party seeks an apology from Mr. Piyush Goyal, from Mr. Kharge?
Mallikarjun Kharge. See, Mr. Tyagi, one thing is very clear and categoric that we as politicians and political parties do. They need to observe a minimum of restraint and a self-imposed restraint rather, and a code also as to how we are leaders. Those who are supposed to lead, at least a minimum decency should be observed. And you see another pimple over an ulcer. The rubber stamp president, with due respect and all responsibility, the rubber stamp president of the Congress party refuses to budge. He should say it's a slip of a tongue, I'm sorry for that. But he says no, this is another pimple over an ulcer. So point remains that we should be unified on maintaining a certain levels of decency. And secondly, Congress should not claim to have the exclusive copyright of the freedom movement. The Congress which struggled for the country, it was a Jan Andolan. Each and every Indian, may he be belonging to any religion, may he be belonging to any political ideology or anything, they all participated in it. And Mahatma Gandhi ji aptly said that we should disband it. So now much water has flowed under.
You're right that no political party should claim proprietorship over anything. I mean, like the BJP claims proprietorship over nationalism, that should also be discussed. But the fact is, like you said, very good words, very important words, that there should be, certain amount of decency. But again, like you're asking for apology, I mentioned to you in the beginning, this mention of animals, especially dogs, this is not the first time which has been used in political discourse. If you remember, and that is what I was reminding you, the Prime Minister also used the word pup in one of the discourse in 2013 when he was the Chief Minister. Don't you think that these kind of words should have also been avoided, sir?
Sir, I am not privy to what Narendra Modi ji said while he was chief. I am not privy to. But the point is that Congress, which has lost the moral, ethical and political impulse, Congress is not being able to catch up to the aspirations and the instincts of the young India, of new India. They are out of jealousy, out of frustration. They are uttering words and expressions like my respectful submission. My humble request to Congress that please be decent.
Please be decent. Ms. Sunit is with us. Let me get her in. Let me get her in and let her respond. Let her respond from the Congress party. Ms. Sunit, let me begin by asking you: shouldn't the leaders of your party or the opposition leaders in general be more careful with their words, because these words are picked up by the government and then they become the flashpoints, completely derailing discussions on any important issue?
No, it is not as if the Modi government in any case is prepared to do a debate on China. So I'm not going to give them cover firing by saying that. Piyush Goyal should be the last person to even open his mouth on China, and I will tell you why. As Commerce Minister, he has ensured that our trade deficit with China has doubled between 2014 to 2022 from $36 billion to $74 billion, more than doubled actually. So we are in some sense funding the PLA to do the incursions they're doing on the LAC. That is how we are paying respects to the 20 brave hearts and martyrs. So Piyush Goyal should sit quiet and not open his mouth on China. That's point number one. Point number two that you were making about decency. I don't think Mallikarjun Kharge said anything indecent. He was speaking in a political rally. In a political rally, let me just remind you that the Prime Minister of this country, the elected Prime Minister of this country, in political rallies has called somebody who's actually going through the pain of widowhood Congress ki vidwa. He has called a mother Jersey guy. He has called a son of the soil, hybrid bachada. He has called a legally wedded wife 50 crore ki girlfriend. He has said Didi, oh Didi, and heckled a woman chief minister. So let's not talk about decency. The same Prime Minister, Mr. Pathania, may not be aware, in 2013 said, जब तेज गाड़ी चलती है और एक पिल्ला भी उसके नीचे आ जाता है तो दुख होता है. He was referring to Godhra.
But
this
ma'am,
is how he speaks about people. 1 second. Ankit ji, 1 second. I only want to ask one question. And the question remains, what are we doing about Chinese incursion? And why does the Prime Minister refuse to take China's name? It is as simple and as black and white as that.
It might be black and white as that, but ma'am, if this issue was so important, and don't you think that your own leaders, by making such remarks, do give that elbow room to the government to wriggle out of it, make an issue out of something else, of these words? So the opposition gives easy volleys to the government. And while you are going through the list of the things that have been said by the Prime Minister, of course, that doesn't make the lot of things that have been said for the Prime Minister from certain leaders of the Congress as well. It doesn't make it right. It can't be, this kind of an argument because they said it, we will also go ahead and say it.
No, I'm not saying that. I am just saying that you do not have a halo around your head and you are not holier than thou. So don't take the moral high ground of decency in public life. You are the elected Prime Minister of this country. You walk the talk, others will follow suit. It's exactly how you follow people on social media, and they're very proud to say you follow them, who give women sexual threats, who tell women that they will be raped, who tell women that they will be killed. Why does the Prime Minister follow people like that? I want to answer. And one question, and Ankit ji, in 10 seconds, if I may please say, the Prime Minister of this country and the BJP government have to answer just one question. That why are they silent on China? And what is happening on status quo ante April 2020?
And these are the important things, and these are the important issues, Sabha Naqvi, which should have been discussed in the parliament, rather than making the parliament a battleground on certain words being picked up from statements which have been made. The fact also is, Sabha Naqvi, in a recent electoral history will tell you that, including the Gujarat polls, any remark made against the Prime Minister, or even any remark which the BJP turns into that it has been made against the Prime Minister, has boomeranged on the Congress party. The BJP and the Prime Minister have used such unsavory remarks, for political dividends, and quite successfully so.
Ankit, first of all, let me say that if we observe parliaments all over the world, it's unbelievable that we are not discussing the Chinese incursion. What is parliament for? Watch some sessions of the British Parliament. Watch it. Watch the US. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking. Anyway, having said that, I entirely agree with you that is exactly what has happened, and it is a pity because Mr. Kharge is right. The Congress did take the leadership position in the freedom struggle, but his words were so. Maybe one can be kind and say his control over Hindi is not that good. But and there is also, if you watch the clip you showed, there is a sense of frustration that we are called traitors and they are called Deshbhakts. He says that at the end of it. He says we are the ones who have made sacrifices for the freedom movement. Technically it's true. There was no BJP. Jansangh was formed in 1951. RSS and Hindu Mahasabha existed, and a section of the Hindu Mahasabha was actually inside the Congress also. If we understand our history properly. So these are, and the BJP does have this historical, but it's a fact. Right now, the BJP is the dominant party in the country. So the esteemed president of the Congress party could have said the same thing without using the dog phrase, because if you are claiming to be loftier than your opponent, which the Congress is trying to do with the Bharat Jodo Yatra, then you need not use such loose language. And I entirely agree with you. It is a tactic of the Bharatiya Janata Party to not discuss policy issues, to not discuss economic matters, but to make it all about the personality of the Prime Minister and say, look, everybody is turning against him. Everyone keeps attacking the Prime Minister. And so the BJP is playing to its script.
Absolutely.
To its strength about emotion, politics, because we are living in the age of a dominant political leader in the country. We are. So when you play on the personality, it is political foolishness.
Absolutely, Geeta, but let me bring you in. And I listed a host of issues that should have been discussed in the parliament, which really have an impact on the lives of the people, not these statements and the way they are discussed in the parliament. But Geeta, can any political party, BJP or the Congress, can they take higher moral ground on the level of political discourse that we are seeing? Because, like Supriya mentioned, the Prime Minister has also been accused of using derivative adjectives. So are many Congress leaders as well. Can any political party today take a higher moral ground on this? But you are on mute. If you can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, see, one thing is for sure that, when you are addressing or you are trying to pass a remark on the Prime Minister of the country, then one does expect that the opposition parties and their political leadership, especially the president of a party, the oldest political party of this country, is going to have, is going to at least use right words. At least the choice of words has to be such which at least indicates that you are addressing.
Fact check, it was not, the remark was not for the Prime Minister. Let's not turn it, it was not intended for the Prime Minister. He was making a remark, on the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party.
It is not just one particular incident,
Yes.
It is, have you forgotten who called the Prime Minister Ravan, equated with Ravan in the recent election rallies which happened? So the point is that there is a level of discourse, whether it is, whether it is in a political rally or whether a discussion inside the parliament. It is very important that the way political leaders, they conduct themselves, irrespective of the political party, the way they conduct themselves and the choice of words that they use. And especially when you are saying something which is related to the Prime Minister of the country, it is
give me a second, I'm coming to you.
Very important that, you need to have at least some, but the unfortunate parties,
okay,
time and again, it is not just one thing. Just give me 10 seconds, Ankit. Also, very recently, another Congress leader, the way who had made a statement that, that there should be, you murder Modi at a particular,
right,
discussion. So, their time and again, it's strictly from the top.
Okay.
The way most of the political leaders belonging to Congress party, they come out and they make such kind of remarks about the Prime Minister.
Supriya Sunit, you heard what Sabha was also saying, and also Geeta, but I would like you to respond first to what they have been saying. Somewhere it becomes very, very personal instead of issue-based discussion or zero discussion as far as the parliament and the political discourse is concerned.
So, Ankit, there are two things that I want to state on record and say it as emphatically as I can. Mr. Kharge did not refer to Mr. Modi. He was not speaking in the floor of the House. He was speaking at a political rally, and when he referred, he essentially referred to the right wing and their absence in the freedom struggle. But the Prime Minister of this country, Narendra Modi, called another Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, raincoat pehenkar nahate the. इससे ज्यादा शर्म और बदतमीजी की और गंदगी की बात दूसरा कोई नहीं कह सकता था. He emphatically said it for another Prime Minister. And on the floor of the House, again, Rajya का remark आपने बोला, on the floor of the House, no, you wait because you spoke, you will come later. On the very floor of the House,
ma'am, let her complete her argument. I will come to you.
On the floor of the House, calling another MP soup nakha. That's what Mr. Modi did to a woman MP, Renuka Chaudhary. Forget about all of that. I am not of the opinion that this is good or this is bad or this is, clever of the BJP. It may be clever of the BJP to do so, but the country is paying a price because the Chinese say, your Prime Minister tells your country koi ghusa hua nahi hai. Wohi to hum bhi bol rahe. The Chinese PLA and Narendra Modi are speaking the same language of the Chinese incursion.
Mr. Pathania.
What can be more demotivating for the Indian Armed Forces?
Okay, let me get Mr. Pathania to respond to this. Mr. Pathania, in the end, in the parliament, ma'am, okay, ladies, just one by one. Let Mr. Pathania speak right now. Mr. Pathania, there is a greater responsibility of the government in power, the political party in power, to ensure there is smooth functioning of the parliament. If the BJP and their leaders will set an example, like Supriya is saying, the kind of language that they have used, then how do you expect the opposition? What else would you expect the opposition to take the level of discourse?
Ankit, that's not the case here. I'm sorry. with due respect and or responsibility or respect towards Madam Supriya, if I am also to utter a checklist of what the Congress leader said about the Bharatiya Janata Party, other opposition leaders, that's not good. That's not in good taste. I started in a very humble note that let us have a self-imposed restraint. We should behave decently. What was the harm in saying I am sorry? What was the harm in saying it could have set a new note. It could have set a new momentum for a level of decency.
For calling her Congress ki Vidwa. Has he apologized to Rahul Gandhi for calling him hybrid bacha?
Supriya ji, let him complete. Supriya ji, let him complete. I'll come to you. Supriya ji, I'll give you. Let's one by one. Supriya ji, I just request you. Let's not turn this into another example of what we see in the parliament every day. One by one, let him complete. I will come to you.
Well, Mr. Modi apologized to this country and the women of this country. That's all that I need to know. Everything else takes a back
Okay,
seat.
Mr. Patania, respond. Mr. Patania, quickly respond.
Yes. My point is, so far as the China debate is concerned, it is a matter of practice in the parliament that so far as sensitive issues are concerned, governments don't and the opposition also don't force on discussions. The concerned ministers issue a statement. Statement issued by Mr. Rajya.
Okay.
It is comprehensive. It is supported by evidence. But Congress, the issueless, agendaless Congress wants to create a fuss out of it. They want to create a political issue out of it. You want to score political ground.
Supriya ji, let's not do this. Supriya ji, you know better than me. It's useless if we speak over each other. Nobody would be able to understand. Let him complete. Sabha Naqvi, I want to come to you. Geeta, but just hold on. Let me get Sabha once, and she's been very patiently waiting for her opportunity to speak. Sabha, exactly the same things we see being played out in the parliament as well. There is zero effort, it seems, from the government, and we have seen this, one after another sessions being washed out to try and get the opposition on board. We can have an all-party meeting on the G22 presidentship, but we can't have an all-party meeting on what the government or the party in power should do as far as China is concerned.
So, Ankit, my main concern is actually Parliament, which I have covered for many years, and I've written so many columns about how Parliament, you cannot have a grand building, but if you don't respect institutions, and Parliament is based on norms, and this government is not having debate and discussion, and the most startling example of that was with the farm laws, which they had to pull out. But having said that, and they are so powerful right now. So if there was greater respect given to parliamentary traditions, it would only enhance their standing on all indices.
Absolutely.
They have a complete majority in the lower house, and they are in a position to allow a certain level of debate. And opposition would not be doing its job if it did not raise these issues. And to say that the Indian opposition wants to only make political points, you cannot expect, in the current climate right now, you cannot expect the opposition not to be concerned about what is happening on the border with China.
Right.
And so my main concern is not about the larger concern, Ankit, you would have it, all journalists who function in the national capital have it, is what is happening to the real the quality of Indian Parliament.
Absolutely, the sense of the Indian Parliament, of course, the debate and discussion. But Geeta Bhatt, while the Congress might say that, when Manishankar Iyer made some very objectionable comments on the Prime Minister, the Congress at least went on and suspended Manishankar Iyer. Can there be any examples from the Bharatiya Janata Party to show the same?
Ankit ji, I would just like to respond over here that if you remember that in 2019, when Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif had made a very derogatory remark calling him Dehati Aurat. And at that time, Mr. Narendra Modi, as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, had criticized it that, no one can speak like this for our Prime Minister, to put in record and to tell the Congress spokesperson. And it is very clear that, it basically the condescending manner in which even whether it is a panel discussion, whether it is somewhere in the public rally, how the Congress spokesperson and their leaders, they treat those who do not agree with them or who do not have the same, opinion.
Okay.
Now, and the point over here is that I would also like to put forth that today, only another leader, Mr. Rai, has made such derogatory remarks, such misogynistic remarks about Smriti Irani,
right,
who is, Minister of Child Welfare, Women and Child Welfare. And very clearly that person is saying that I am not going to apologize, and this is not
Mr. Nate, don't you think that the Congress party at least should take action against Mr. Rai for the remarks that he has made against a woman minister? Because you were in fact, also talking about how there have been such misogynistic comments, comments in bad taste which have been made by the BJP against your leaders. Shouldn't the Congress also set an example with Mr. Rai?
Yeah, just before I answer that, I want to put on record when it's very rich for the BJP spokesperson, two of them on the channel right now, to sit here and say that the opposition should not make a hue and cry about China. Do you remember that on the 19th of June 2020, when the all-party meeting happened on China, the Prime Minister of this country, without batting an eyelid, said koi ghusa hua nahi hai, and the country and the armed forces are still paying a price for this. China has encouraged to an extent where we've had to make buffer zones in our patrolling areas. So just to remind the BJP, do what you want to do. Do not play with national security.
Supriya, I have last 10 seconds. With the Congress taking action against Ajay Rai?
Misogynistic comments is concerned, the day BJP sacks Prime Minister Modi for the misogynistic comments that he has made against women in the past, we shall follow suit. Modi ji ko sack kariye, gandi baat unhone aapko ke liye kahi hai, us din hum sack kरेंगे. We will follow suit.
So you will follow the Bharatiya Janata Party's example of taking action against their own leaders, and seems like the Congress is going to follow also the kind of discourse that the BJP sets for the country to in fact see, and that is why then, ma'am, it will be very difficult for your voters to see whether the difference between both your parties if you keep following each other. But I will leave it there. I will leave it there, ma'am. Thank you so much, Supriya Sineth, Mr. Pathania, Sabha Naqvi, and Geeta Bhatt for joining me on Breaking Views this evening. That's all the time that I have in this edition. News and updates continue on NDTV. On the other side, stay tuned.